Once upon a time, in the heart of the savannah, there is a small village called Ndebeli, surrounded by tall cocoa trees and rolling hills. The people of Ndebeli were joyous and hardworking, bound together by love and tradition. In the center of the village stood a small hospital, a place of hope where mothers brought life into the world. But in that hospital, there worked a woman named Nurse Zalikha, whose heart was as cold as the deepest well. Zalikha was no ordinary nurse. With her sharp gaze and stern expression, she commanded respect and fear. Mothers trusted her with their precious newborns, but unknown to them, a dark secret shadowed her actions. For years, Zalikha had been selling newborn babies to strangers from faraway lands. Wealthy merchants and childless families came to her in secret, and she handed over the babies in exchange for sacks of gold. She cared little for the grief of the mothers or the cries of the children. The village began to sense something strange. Every week, the woman would leave the hospital empty-handed, with tears streaming down her face. "Your child did not survive," Zalikha would say coldly, her tone devoid of sympathy. Grief-stricken mothers would mourn, but there was never a burial. The hospital had its own procedures, Zalikha would explain. One day, a kind-hearted herbalist named Mama Tembo arrived in the village. She was wise and known for her remedies, but she also had a gift for sensing when something was wrong. The winds carried whispers to her ears, and the ancestors often spoke through her dreams. Upon her arrival, Mama Tembo noticed the sorrow hanging over the village like a dark cloud. She listened as women recounted their stories of loss and suspicion. "How can so many babies die in one place?" Mama Tembo asked the villagers. "This is not natural." She decided to investigate. Mama Tembo spent days sitting outside the hospital, her sharp eyes watching Zalikha and the visitors who came and went. One night, she heard a baby crying from behind the hospital when no mothers had recently given birth. Following the sound, she saw Zalikha handing a bundle to a hooded stranger in exchange for a pouch of gold. The truth was clear. The next morning, Mama Tembo gathered the women of the village. "Zalikha has betrayed us all," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "She sells the lives of your children for gold." Shocked and furious, the women demanded justice. But Zalikha was cunning, and she denied the accusations, claiming that Mama Tembo was an outsider stirring trouble. The chief of the village, a fair but cautious man, ordered an investigation. Until then, Zalikha remained in the hospital, continuing her wicked deeds in secret. But the ancestors were not silent. That night, Mama Tembo prayed beneath the great baobab tree, asking for guidance. A powerful storm rolled in, and the winds howled with fury. The ancestors sent her a vision, the stolen babies crying out, their spirits yearning for justice. Mama Tembo knew she had to act quickly, for Zalikha's web of lies was beginning to unravel. The next morning, the storm had passed, but the air in the village felt heavy. Mama Tembo went to the chief with a plan. "The ancestors will reveal the truth if we let them," she said. The chief, hesitant but trusting of Mama Tembo's wisdom, agreed to allow her to hold a sacred ceremony. That evening, the villagers gathered around the great baobab tree, where a fire burned brightly. Mama Tembo sprinkled sacred herbs into the flames, causing them to crackle and send sparks into the night sky. She called out to the spirits of the ancestors, asking for their guidance to expose the wickedness hiding in their midst. As the fire roared, a strange thing happened. A group of women stepped forward, each carrying an item belonging to their lost children, a tiny blanket, a beaded bracelet, or a knitted cap. Mama Tembo placed these items into the fire, and the flames rose higher. Suddenly, the wind picked up, swirling around the villagers and carrying the cries of babies. The sound seemed to come from the hospital itself. The crowd followed the cries, their torches lighting the way. Zalikha, seeing the angry mob approaching, tried to flee, but the winds seemed to block her path, slamming doors shut and throwing debris in her way. She stumbled and fell as the villagers surrounded her. "Where are the children?" demanded one of the mothers. "What have you done with them?" Terrified, Zalikha finally confessed. "I sold them," she cried. "I sold them for gold. Please, have mercy." The crowd was furious, but Mama Tembo held up her hand. "The ancestors will decide her fate," she said. Under Mama Tembo's direction, the villagers searched the hospital and found evidence of Zalikha's crimes, hidden records, gold coins, and even letters from the buyers. They also discovered 2 babies who had not yet been sold, their tiny cries filling the room. The mothers wept with joy as they held the children, but the anger in their hearts burned hotter. The next day, the villagers gathered in the square, where Zalikha stood before the chief and the elders. Mama Tembo spoke on behalf of the people. "Zalikha has betrayed her duty, her people, and the ancestors. She has caused great pain and must face the consequences." The chief declared Zalikha banished from the village, never to return. But the punishment did not end there. To ensure she could not harm another soul, the ancestors cursed her. Her hands, once used to carry babies, withered and became useless. Her voice, used to lie and deceive, became a faint whisper that no one could hear. As Zalikha disappeared into the wilderness, the village began to heal. Mama Tembo continued to help the women, ensuring that every birth was safe and every child cherished. The hospital was blessed under the baobab tree, and no more babies were lost. From that day forward, the people of Nebeli learned to trust not just in each other, but in the guidance of the ancestors. And the story of Zalikha, the wicked nurse, became a cautionary tale, reminding all that evil deeds will always be brought to light by the winds of truth. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to know when we upload new stories. Thank you.